Hello and welcome to Mimi's Sketchbook. Today my illustration was inspired by Paul David Tripp's book New Morning Mercies, and today is August 5th. Now I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse, but I have had a donut shop within a very short walking distance of my house for almost the entire time that I've lived here, and that's almost 50 years. And the first donut shop that was here, Donut Land, you could buy a dozen donuts and they would all fit in a box about the size of a shoebox. And a single donut was round and about 3 or 4 inches wide. My favorite donut has always been a yeast donut with chocolate frosting on top and angel cream inside. One was just enough, but 2 would make me sick. And one of those was just the right size and a real nice little treat, and not much of a worry when you only weighed 110 pounds. Now, many years have gone by, and food portions, especially treats, have been supersized. Bigger is better. We now have a new donut store, and it's located right across the street from where the old one used to be. And the donuts are so large that if you buy a dozen donuts now, you leave with 2 boxes and a bag. And they are heavy. Now this store, New Donut Store, is very popular, and there is often a line outside the door of people waiting to go in. And it's remarkable, but even though I go past the store every single day, I just am not tempted to go in and buy a donut. The problem happens when my children come to town. And then it's a special occasion, and my son-in-law goes up to the New Donut Store and brings back several boxes and bags of donuts. Now, the donut that I like is now called a Long John, and I would say it is at least 3 times the size of the original round donut. Now, I am no longer 110 pounds, and I know this one donut is way too much food for me and probably a ridiculous amount of calories. Plus, I do know it's going to make me sick. So I start off pretty good, knowing that if I have a good, healthy breakfast, I'll be able to resist the temptation of that donut. But the donuts all stay in the center of the table. And what happens is I begin to think, well, maybe if I just have a little taste, that'll be enough. And then it starts. I have one little taste, and then a little while later I come back and have another little taste, and by the end of the day, I have eaten the entire donut. Today in his devotions, Paul Tripp talks about how sometimes we think we're smarter than God. And he says, you and I step over God's boundaries because there are moments in our lives when we think we are able to convince ourselves that we are smarter than God. We tell ourselves that what he says is wrong isn't so wrong after all. Now, eating a donut isn't a huge sin, but it is a reminder to me that if I don't have the willpower to resist the temptation of a donut, how much more do do I need to cling to God's boundaries in the really big issues in life? Paul quotes Proverbs 16:25 that says, "There is a way that seems right to man, but its end is the way to death." Now here is the good news. Tripp ends his devotion by saying, it reminds us again that none of us has outlived our need for the rescuing mercy of an ever-present and ever-willing Redeemer. How wonderful it is that we can run to that mercy once again today. So thank you for joining me today at Mimi's Sketchbook. I hope this was an encouragement to you. And if it was, could you please subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, and maybe even share this message with someone else. And in that way, YouTube will help us to spread the good news. So thank you, and God bless.